Welcome back. We are here for number 5 of the Bits and Bytes podcast, and we got a special guest with us today. I'm so freaking excited. This one's going to be a fun one, ladies and gentlemen. If those of you have met my friend Jeremiah, you know where we're going. I'll introduce him here in a second. Just to kind of recap, Bits and Byte podcast, our goal is to deliver informed information, share best practices, and bring thought leaders onto our show to kind of raise the bar, make everybody more aware of what's going on out there in the marketplace. This is not a self-serving podcast. This is us trying to share best practices and information out to our listeners, because we know as we grow, we're better together. So we appreciate everybody that's joining us. Today, our special guest is Jeremiah Plaskett. He's one of our founding members, leads the collaboration practice here at Byteworks. So, Jeremiah, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And obviously, we got our co-host, Mr. JoJo.
Hey, big time! That one's for Jeremiah.
We like it.
Well done, sir. Well done.
Thank you.
So, we are here today talking about a common interest that we're hearing on the marketplace right now, and that's around this movement of hybrid work. Mm-hmm. And you've been forefront into this and seeing a lot of phases and development throughout your career on how this goes. I gotta imagine COVID hypered that as everything else. But tell us a little bit about your background. Tell us what you've experienced, and then also specifically into that hybrid work movement.
Sure. So I've been doing collaboration focused IT work for at least the past 15 years.
Those of you that thought he was 21,
since he's 6, right? So that
sorry to crush all those women out there looking.
That's funny. I got my start in IT actually as a network engineer, and was on the operations side of IT, and actually switched to collaboration. And by collaboration, I'm referring to anything that's used to communicate with your colleagues in a work setting. So it can be as simple as a phone system, it can be a messaging app, it can be video conferencing solutions, it can be even bleeds over a bit into productivity apps and the integration of those applications with collaboration technology. So collaboration, unified communications, these are the words that IP telephony, video telephony, it encompasses all of those areas. And I switched over to this field after actually inheriting, as an IT guy, a phone system. And so back then, sometimes phone systems and things and video conferencing systems were part of the facilities, but it got handed to me as an IT guy in the late 90s, early 2000s, and I really kind of took to the technology, got really interested in it, and then ultimately became a consultant around it as a delivery engineer for several years, and consultant before starting Byteworks, or coming on to Byteworks.
So that's a great background. So help me with this movement. Help me with this transition. So traditional phone system, we all kind of experienced how the introduction of Wi-Fi and computer networks started changing how people communicated, and then as that evolved and innovation happened down that path, hybrid work, all of a sudden COVID hit, and hybrid work all of a sudden became such an adopted practice. I remember when it was like an ugly term,
right?
And tell me about that.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's one of those buzzwords that was around even before COVID, and it's gone through a couple iterations, if you will, marketing campaigns by different OEMs, and it's been referred to as digital transformation, for example, in the past. But it really took off during the whole COVID experience, because what companies were forced into a position of is a position of where all of their workforce is dispersed, okay? And so first and foremost, while everything was shut down, IT organizations all over the world had to come up with solutions in order to enable their employees to still be productive while at home, okay? And so of course that's the simple things like web conferencing and things like that. But that I would kind of refer to as more remote solutions. And if it wasn't just web conferencing solutions, it was VPN solutions, it was file sharing solutions, It was all of those things that you would typically go into the office to access. Now, VPN existed prior to the whole COVID thing, and other solutions such as SD-WAN and all these different ways to connect into corporate networks previously existed. It's just COVID really accelerated it and really made companies look at themselves and say, okay, what sort of solutions do we have? How are we going to support all of these remote employees? And, how are we also going to maintain productivity while doing so?
Yep.
And so now, though, it's kind of transition, and what you're hearing, this whole hybrid office moniker, that's where companies now, post-COVID, have this new reality, okay, about their work environments. And it's not the same work environment that it was pre-COVID. It has to be an environment because now, frankly, once you start to give people a taste of something, if they like it, they're going to keep wanting it.
Yeah.
And a lot of folks, especially the younger generation, does not want to go back to work. They don't want to go back into the office like they did before. What they found is that they found by working at home, their work-life balance actually improved. Now, this is a controversial topic, especially among the Elon Musks of the world. Elon Musk has come out and said that everyone needs to go back into work, and that may work for him. And I'm a big Elon Musk fan, to throw that out there. Not that that's important, but on this point, I slightly disagree with him in the sense that today's generation, now that these tools are out there, we know they work. We know you can actually be productive and have a engaged workforce, even with people at home. And so what's happening is the complete office landscape has now transitioned. So, some people refer to it as the me versus we type of environment, where in the past you had cubes for people, you had a lot of individual spaces, if you will. Now what the concept is that as you start welcoming your workforce back in, you've got to have spaces that allow them to transition seamlessly from the tools they were using at their house into the conference rooms, into the public spaces, because one of the realities is not everyone's going back to work. So the actual size and footprints of these spaces of companies' offices are decreasing, but the environment is totally changing. Instead of having dedicated cubes for people and dedicated areas, you now have open shared areas, conference rooms, huddle spaces, a term called hot desking. And that's not where you meet your future wife at work. That's actually that's a term where you can go to a desk at work in the office and just seamlessly and wirelessly sync your applications with the equipment at that desk, so that boom, you have a video device, boom, you have a laptop or some sort of phone sort of device, and you can easily, and the best solutions allow you to just take your smart device and scan a QR code, and boom, you're logged in.
I saw a video the other day. That's actually the new Cisco building in Atlanta here.
Yep.
Is all hot desks.
Yes.
It's all, you log into the desk, to your point, you plug in and you're ready to go.
Yeah.
So,
Cisco is one of the companies. There are several collaboration companies out there that are really trying to get ahead of that and lead the industry, if you will, in that sort of environment where, and it's not just collaboration technologies, it's technologies where they're combining in the lighting systems and making the office completely connected, if you will, from a digital perspective. And you can, have analytics like, and that's a huge part of it, because space management, is tied into this whole hybrid office thing. If I'm an employee and I'm going to the office, I want to be able to know beforehand, how many rooms are full, what spaces are available. I need to be able to go into an app and reserve in advance if I need to, and also understand how many people are in that room, what the current temperature in the room is, lighting, all of these things that we don't really think about that can all be connected digitally now. And that's truly what the hybrid office is. And so, the key stat here is 64% of employees say the ability to work from anywhere drives their decision to stay at a job.
Wow.
So, despite what Elon Musk wants.
So I kind of go on his side though too. I'm the true. I like the term hybrid because it's not like fully remote and it's not fully office. It's a bridge between them, and I feel like so much unplanned collaboration, no pun, but development within teams, conversations that might not have happened if you weren't in the office or weren't passing people. So I see a lot of value in the office, and I also do agree that I do see a lot of value in being able to be undistracted, not having somebody knock on my door. As a leader of one of the areas of the practice, there's a lot of people that need certain things, and so there's a lot of distraction from time to time. So being able to work from home and have all of the advantages that I had in my office was a big deal.
That's a key thing, and this is where, while I disagree with Elon Musk that you should have a mandate everyone back in the office 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, I disagree with that sort of draconian viewpoint. I do understand where he's going with it, because you lose a certain amount of collaboration when you're through these tools. You can get very close to it, especially with some of the newer enhancements, and I can get into the technical details around that if need be. But the perfect balance is, and actually Chuck Robbins said this, who's the CEO of Cisco, and he can't take credit for it. It's actually one of his customers that said it to him, and then he kind of took hold of this quote, which is, you have to make the office a magnet, not a mandate.
Yep.
And so what that means is you really have to make it to where your office is a welcoming environment. It's inclusive. You've got those tools where you can seamlessly walk in and pick up your job from your home office, and then when you get done using the space, you walk out and it's ready for that next person.
Yep.
And so the magnet part of it is that because you have these sorts of tools and this sort of interoperability and ease of use, that drives people in the office, because those tools in most cases are going to be a lot better than what people have at home. Okay.
Sure.
And so, being able to take a video call from your laptop while you're at home at a certain uncomfortable angle where you're looking down and things like that's okay, and it can check the box. But being able to walk in the office and seamlessly connect to a screen that's at your eye level, and the ergonomics are correct, and the video is doing framing that makes you feel engaged and in the room,
sure,
that's where the differentiation is. So that's where you're truly creating that hybrid office that people want to go into the office for.
Yeah, that magnet.
Yeah.
It's like people want the face-to-face, but nobody wants to drive the hour 15 to get to point B. Right. So I could see both sides of it. You do lose some collaboration capability. So on the other side of the coin, it does kind of take away from those distractions that Matt was talking about, right? Because sometimes you're in a zone and you have a thought, and I'm like, okay, Matt, what about this? And I just hit him up on WebEx. Yeah. Right then and there, I can upload a video file, which is really hard to do on other collab platforms, especially the larger files, stuff like that.
I have two elements of that. Like, the one is kind of I'd like to get your take on the unpreparedness organizations were. Like, I have to imagine, because you hit on something that really hit home, is the VPN capabilities. So they were so prehistoric. Like, I remember having to log in, and then I would get kicked off, and pulling data took forever, and it was just it was horrible.
Well, that's actually a good point, because one of the challenges of that COVID presented was not just the immediate need for all these solutions, but also the need to do it securely.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of people may have had VPNs going, but it may have been used so infrequently that they didn't even worry about things like multi-factor authentication and things like that. Once you get so many more people using those sorts of resources, you really have to think about it holistically and from a secure standpoint, especially in this day and age with ransomware and all the threats that folks face from a cybersecurity perspective. So, that there were tons of companies that were ill prepared. But just to segue from that a bit, the other way that we found a lot of companies were unprepared is what a lot of companies did during this whole thing is they went online and they just bought a bunch of Zoom, for example. That's the new verb. Or they leverage Microsoft Teams. It doesn't really matter which platform you use. What they found, though, by doing that, and a lot of them kind of siloed on certain things, is that the other thing that COVID and all of this taught us is that the ease of use is so critical.
Yeah.
So if I'm sitting at home and I'm attending all these meetings and participating remotely and all this stuff, I need a solution to where if one of my vendors sends me a Zoom invite, I need to be able to join a Zoom easily. If they send me a Microsoft Teams invite, I need to be able to join
Absolutely.
whether it's Zoom, Chime, Microsoft Teams, Google Hangouts, WebEx, you name it. The interoperability between these platforms
that was a pain in the butt beforehand.
a real pain point. And so, as a collaboration consultant, that's kind of one area that we really focus on is making sure that the solutions we help design and deploy has that open standards, if you will, and the ability to where if I walk into that shared space, if I go to that hot desk, if I go to that conference room, and whether it's a WebEx equipped room, whether it's a Zoom equipped room, whether it's a Microsoft Teams room, who cares the back end meeting platform, you want to be able to call into that meeting and join that meeting with crisp video and everything working very easily. You've got to make it intuitive, you've got to make it dummy proof, and you've got to make it smart. And so that's really where a lot of companies, this COVID really hurt them, and that's where a good collaboration consultant can help them with those things.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I've always been super annoyed by is joining a meeting, you go somewhere, but maybe you get there a couple minutes late because, you got kids, right? Traffic. If you live in Atlanta, you get it.
Absolutely.
So you don't get the best seat in the house, right? Yeah. So oftentimes you're kind of buried in the background, even though you might have the best ideas. What are some ways that the collaboration process is improving upon this pain point for people?
That's actually an excellent question. And so one of the big differences you're seeing now if you're joining these web conferences is you're seeing, let's say you're in a regular conference room, okay, and you're surrounded around a table and you've got people up on the video screen that's watching you in that room. The initial foray, well, let's go to an old VTC room, okay, a video telephone conference room.
Don't get me started.
Right. When these video rooms were first built out, way back in the day, we'll say, you actually, in many cases, larger companies had video editors and they're actually manually moving cameras around, okay, and controlling the meeting. They weren't part of the meeting, they were just kind of editing and producing the meeting so that those video cameras were shooting the right person as they were talking, all right? Now, this is way back when, and since then, the technology has advanced, and now you've got things built into these devices such as speaker track or speaker focus and the people focus and framing and people framing, and there's so many buzzwords to describe this capability.
Audio adjustments and stuff.
But what the equipment does now is it will autofocus on the active speaker, okay? And that was kind of one step, all right? And so you're in a conference room surrounded around a table, and you are in the middle of people, and you're talking, the camera will try to focus on you, right? Still, it's not the best experience because other people are around you, this, that, and the other, and that's where the framing, where now the cameras will actually frame people and in their own individual window, kind of like Brady Bunch style, okay? So it's those sorts of things that they're doing, but the really best companies that do it, the best video devices out there that are doing it, aren't just, they're really being intelligent about the framing. They're not just framing them a certain way. For example, if I have a group of 6 people, individuals around a table, and I'm framing them incorrectly to where in real life, the person on my right box is actually to my left, and I'm looking the wrong way, okay? People don't think about these sorts of things, but that's the sort of thing you have to be really aware of and cognizant as you're designing these collaboration solutions, because you want to make it such an immersive experience to where the people at home feel like they're in the room, and the people in the room feel like, they call it, it's funny, this word's being overused this day and age, but it's inclusivity, okay? It's inclusivity in the conference room, in the web conferencing meeting, if you will, and that's where the technology is really driving things, and not just from a framing standpoint, from content sharing, from a whiteboarding.
You're right.
It's the experience.
Right.
And so I just wrote this on here because we're sitting here in a perfect example of how to upgrade and upscale that experience of communicating and collaborating. And of course, there's a Lightboard in front of me that I just wrote on. I did not flip that so that all you guys can see out there, and it flipped it the correct way so that, to your point, things are delivering the right experience.
Actually, this now that you mention it, I'll kind of talk to this for a second, because this Lightboard is a perfect example of something that we did during COVID, and we helped our clients. Some of our clients are the higher education space, and so they were in a situation where they needed to deliver remote learning. All right, and so they wanted it. This particular product, which is made by a company called Revolution Lightboards, a very good company out of Colorado, if I remember, Denver, Colorado correctly. They make these light boards for higher ed and learning institutions. And the whole concept is that, back in the day when we were in class and the teacher was up at the chalkboard, okay, writing on the chalkboard. And a lot of teachers love to teach that way. They have to be writing on something. But when you're delivering remote learning, imagine the teacher's back to you, because you're at home on the videos watching it through a video, and the teacher's got their back to you, and the words are all turned around. So what this board does is it allows the teacher to face and make eye contact with their students who are connected via video at home. They can write on the board, and all the technology reverses the words in the right order, and so it's a very engaging, immersive experience. Now, what we did is we took it one step further by integrating a codec, a video codec with it. For the particular one we used for this one was a WebEx meetings codec, but you could use any type of meeting platform to do this. And the whole point, the reason why we did that is because our customers look, teachers need to be able to walk into this room, the room be pre-scheduled for that class, and easily start it. They don't want to have to connect their laptop to launch Microsoft Teams or WebEx or Google software in order to get that meeting going and do this. And it needs to be simple, stupid. Keep it simple, stupid. And so that's where the one button to push comes in, the voice activation. So we integrated all that to where you could walk into these studios and say, start my meeting, and it starts their meeting, and they're instantly talking to their students and instantly go in and are having that class. So that's a perfect example of some of the
freaking amazing. I was going to ask you to share some of these examples, and one of the things that I think is really cool too is because you integrated that codec. We could also put something up as far as by connecting a laptop and put up imagery that we can interact with as well. Draw and on diagrams and really make that fully immersive experience. And so the things that I see from this development and this movement around hybrid work is that the entire experience has been upgraded. It's makes you feel as close as possible. Obviously, nothing's going to be as real as me, punching you over here, right? No, I'm just saying.
Right.
But as close in actual reality as in person as possible.
Another key part of that, and forgive me because I could talk about the technical details all day because that's what I do. But
sure.
But the audio is a huge part of that, right? So again, joining video conferences, especially pre-COVID, was sometimes hit or miss when it would come to audio. For one, getting the audio portion to connect, whether you're using internet audio or having it call back your phone through the PSTN.
You didn't even want to listen. It was poor.
And the audio was often poor. And so that's this whole COVID thing really drove the innovation for audio improvements, such as noise canceling and the technology that is available now to suppress and cancel out the noise, and also to allow music to work through these video conferences. The progress made in the last few years, and I'm not talking about one specific platform, every platform, meetings platform has improved drastically in this. Cisco purchased Babel Labs, which is the preeminent leader in this sort of technology, but all of them have this sort of capabilities now where you can be in a Starbucks, joining a meeting, having your noise canceling headphones on, and then enabling those noise canceling features through the software, and it is amazing. I was actually on a call yesterday with one of our employees who was like, it was Heather, she was apologizing for the background noise. She's like, landscapers are here. I'm like, Heather, we can't even hear it.
That's awesome.
And it's because of the noise canceling that WebEx had built in. So those sorts of things, COVID really helped drive some advancement of those kind of things. It's all part of that inclusivity. And if I'm in a meeting at the Starbucks, I want to be, because what would happen in the past? People would mute you. people were like, hey, could you call back in when you're somewhere where you can actually talk?
And it wasn't very interactive.
Right.
It wasn't
interactive. And then every time they did talk and you hear all that background noise, you're like, oh God, I can't even hear this guy.
Well, not only that, but how many of us have been in a meeting and you have to, get the doorbell or the kid starts screaming? Yeah. One of the things that is awful about most collab platforms is be right back, and you can see everything that's behind me, and maybe I don't want you to see everything. Yeah. Maybe you don't want to see everything that's in my office or in my bedroom because it's a collaboration platform. You could be anywhere. It could be in the bathroom. Who knows?
It's funny you use that specific word. I just got back from a brief from Cisco last week. They're launching a new feature called the Be Right Back feature, where as you step away, it automatically will
that's nice.
So that's another example of those enhancements, and that was not rehearsed, by the way. He did not know that feature was called Be Right Back.
I actually did some digging before the show.
Oh, did you?
Believe it or not, Matt, I did some show prep, and I thought it a really practical use case because I've been in those moments where I don't want to turn off my camera because I feel like they're going to think I'm like hiding something. But then I'm like, I'm just going to walk away. It knows. And then when I come back, it knows to unblur the camera. So again, just the practical use of AI for practical conversations day to day.
And to take that one step further, the future of the conference room is going to be even better because,
that's where I was going. I want to hear about where you think, this is going.
So, you're going to have these conference rooms are equipped with more cameras for one thing. So in most conference rooms, you have a display and the camera in the front. If they're really fancy, they'll add a presenter tracking camera. Okay, so if you've got a speaker standing up there. But what you really want to design is a conference room that's fit for every use case from the beginning, all right? Obviously, smaller conference rooms and huddle rooms, this may not be necessary, okay? But, one of the features that Cisco's working on is called cinematic mode, okay? And this is really taking it to the next level because imagine, you have several, and it's not just Cisco working on this technologies. I don't want to sound like I'm all pro Cisco, although they're a very
we're big. I mean, hey, let's say we like what they're bringing, right?
But they are releasing this new cinema mode where you have multiple cameras around the room, and they're small, they're not big, they're very nice and blend in well aesthetically. But truly, if I stand up in the meeting, it's automatically going to focus on my face. If I move around, if someone comes in, I mean, it truly allows for an immersive experience because it's literally like you have a guy with a camera following you around, like you're making a movie. That's what it's like.
I can't wait to see
those people viewing at home, once they see that sort of thing, it makes them feel that they're in the room.
Yeah.
Okay,
and that's the point.
Yeah.
Any other things? Just kind of trying to pick your brain. Any other things that you're like super excited about? They might not even be here.
Oh, what about the metaverse? The applications in the metaverse.
So VR is definitely something that's eventually going to enter this space big time, okay? And so we're still a little bit ways from that, I believe. But Cisco's already got VR headsets and things that you can imagine this scenario. You work for an energy or some sort of utility company. You're out there checking on endpoints or sensors or something, or even if you're working on something. Okay, imagine someone's working on something remotely, and you've got a technician back at headquarters, and they've got a VR headset, and you're holding whatever this equipment is that you're working, and those people back at headquarters can visually see it. They can turn it. It's three-dimensional. Wow. Those sorts of technologies are
holy smokes. You made me think of it even as a consumer. Say you bought something and you're trying to put something together, and you get stuck and you call in and they're like, well, no, you need to do that. And instead of them trying to tell me through voice, and audio.
Well, it's like the whole Tony Stark experience. If you remember, in one of the Venture movies, or maybe it was one of the other ones, Iron Man, where he's got that screen and it's all three-dimensional and he's rotating it. Jarvis and all that stuff. That's what I'm talking about. That sort of thing where you've got level 3 and level 4 engineers back, and maybe you've got a level 2 technician on site, and the level 2 technicians showing them through their headset all these things, and then they can then take that image and rotate it and do everything they need to solve the problem that much quicker. So that's where technology is
That's
going.
Interesting. Jeremiah, one thing that I started thinking about as we see this movement to hybrid work and the hyper speed that it's transitioning and innovating and everything that we're talking about, what are some of the challenges that we had to keep up with, throughout that time?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd probably go back to the interoperability between platforms. To me, that's one of the biggest challenges because, some companies don't take that open standard sort of approach. And so that does make it harder. They're kind of siloed in and head down sort of thing. I really believe that the companies that are going to succeed in these technologies are those ones who implement open standards and really want their product to work seamlessly with other platforms. It needs to be...
By the way, the Microsoft and Cisco, Microsoft Teams working on the Cisco hardware.
That's actually
freaking
a
huge.
Perfect point there, because in the Microsoft Teams ecosystem, and I know we have lots of Microsoft Teams customers, those clients who want to use the Microsoft Teams platform and then expand that to these spaces that we're talking about, these conference rooms and hot desking, and in the Microsoft world, they're called Microsoft Teams rooms. Traditionally, Microsoft has handled that where the video devices that they would support were a huge range of different vendors, from Poly to Logi to Crestron to I could go on and on. And now Microsoft and Cisco have actually partnered to where you have the Cisco video devices that work with Microsoft Teams rooms. And what does that mean? The best way I like to describe it, when it comes to Microsoft or to Cisco video devices, what makes them, in my opinion, and sorry, partners and vendors for saying this, what makes the Cisco video devices superior falls back to the old Steve Jobs mantra. Steve Jobs said, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he basically made this argument many times in the Mac versus PC argument. If you can control the hardware and the software end to end, you can make a better product. Okay, and I'm sorry, but I believe Mac has proven that. They're the most valuable company in the world, if I'm not mistaken. So I believe that they've proven that if you can control the software and the hardware end to end, you're going to have a better product. And that's what Cisco's done with their video devices that nobody else in the space has done. When you talk about the WebEx room kits, the WebEx boards, the panoramic rooms, and all of those different video devices that Cisco makes, what makes them superior is the software and hardware is integrated end to end. And now that you can use those devices in a Microsoft Teams cloud environment, it's a game changer. It's a game changer for Microsoft, and it also, I think, is smart on both Cisco and Microsoft's parts to work together like that. Yeah. When you silo things, you actually hurt innovation. You don't help it.
Yeah. And with that hyper growth as well, one of the things that we experienced was, some supply chain challenges, just like many other industries and stuff. And happy to see that that's improving. Happy to see, we have done so many implementations and integrations that are becoming to be true solutions for our customers. And at the end of the day, that's at Byteworks, that's what we pride to do here, is listen to our customers, understand their need set. Every customer has a little bit uniqueness, and then also there's a lot of similarities. So, through our experience, leveraging our experience to help give them the best experience. And at the end of the day, we said it, throughout several things that we've said here, it's about experience. Yeah. And that's what really hybrid work, the ability to really embrace that, is the fact that the experience has raised the bar so much.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's actually a very good point. And one of the things that COVID helped change. Prior to COVID, when we're out there consulting on these sorts of solutions, we're talking to usually IT folks, okay, and facilities, all right? But now these conversations about these sorts of technologies are being had with C-levels, and more so than ever, HR. Because what is HR about? HR is about the employees. They're about the experience. And what is differentiating company A from company B? If I'm a young, smart person, just graduated from MIT or Harvard or whatever, and I'm gauging companies I want to go work for, I want to go work for that company who has the environment that is offers the work-life balance, offers the ease of use, offers the interoperability, offers the hybrid workspaces where I can easily transition from working at home and going into the office. It's becoming a discussion on employee experience, employee engagement, not dollars and cents. Oh, this is our budget from facilities. This is our budget from IT. Let's just go get whatever we can with this budget. No, you have to build a work environment, a hybrid office that is engaging and has the right experience, because that's part of recruiting. It's part of the company's goals.
It can be about dollars and cents, though. I want to push back a little bit, because if you consider the cost of churn, employee churn, think about it. Somebody leaves your company because company B offers a hybrid work solution. They want to spend Tuesdays and Thursdays at home with their kids. They got to pick them up off the bus stop. I get it. I'm there. So there is a challenge with that.
Joey, one of the things I think that you just hit on as it, being a key and a focus of HR as well and churn rate is the fact that technology used to be a support function and kind of living over here on the side. Now it's at the seat at the table, to your point, Jeremiah, in every conversation that's being had. This is how we make our workforce more efficient. This is how we make our workforce, to your point, Joey, happy and content and capable and empowering. And so, these conversations, and, I lead sales over here at Byteworks. The conversations that I'm encouraging my team as we're developing relationships around customers and their needs is it's not just about the IT manager. What is the need case? What is the importance? And what are the goals at various other levels and functions within their organization? Because we're solving that. We're here to be a strategic partner and extension of their teams. And I'm not going to go too far down there before Joey pitch slaps me and says, hey, no pitch slapping. But at the end of the day, it's so much more important, going back to kind of grounding us on this hybrid work. It's all about the experience of delivering a better experience that's optimized. And I'm really excited to see where we're going. Jeremiah, really excited about where you're taking your practice. Really excited for you being a forefront thought leader and immersing yourself in that space. I'm always coming to you and pushing us to see, what's next, or, hey, here's a unique challenge of some of our customers, and you always embrace it. So thank you for being here. Thanks for sharing your thought leadership. And guys, Byteworks is here as a collaborator, as a facilitator, as a solutions provider. That's why we started this podcast, sharing best practices, sharing innovation. There will be a link in the comments, and give us a like. Jeremiah, thank you very much.
So glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Podcast 5.
Big time.
Cool.
Save the best for the 5th.